Hey, how's it going? Welcome to the show. I'm really excited today. Got one of my childhood records right here. It's Nilsson's The Point. If you don't know who Nilsson is, he did Lime on the Coconut. Shame on you. From 1971, it's on the RCA label. This is a later reissue of the album. It has a gatefold cover. Got a pictorial version of Oblio right here, and it's got lyrics on this other side. And we got some more cross-stitching with the title tracks on the back. Oddly enough, this was actually the first Christmas present my dad gave my mom back in 1979, and 3 years later, I was born. Good going, Dad. The record also came with a comic book that is actually based on the film that was later produced off the album, and I'll get into that in a second. Let's get right into it. How about we'll do side A, track 1. Everything's got 'em.
This is the town and these are the people.
So I was doing a little research, and Nilsson's quoted for coming up with the idea of the point as, and I quote, "I was on acid, and I looked at the trees, and I realized they all came to points, and the little branches all came to points, and the houses came to points. And I thought, oh, everything has a point, and if it doesn't, then there's a point to it." Some deep doo-doo right there. When I was growing up, I always thought this was the soundtrack of the film. But actually it's the other way around. Nilsson wrote this album, he narrated it himself. It was a whole complete story, back to front. And some, I guess, producers or somebody saw it and said, hey, let's make a movie out of this. And it first aired on ABC in 1971. It was directed by Fred Wolf, who is most known for his Tootsie Pop commercial. He would later produce such television shows as the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and DuckTales. Originally, so what they did, there were some changes. And one of the big changes was they cut out Nilsson's narration and they put in a frame story of a dad trying to get his son to go to bed, so he tells him the story of Oblio.
You know, I can remember when kids used to like to have stories read to them.
In the original broadcast, it was voiced by Dustin Hoffman.
I don't know. I just don't know.
But for some reason, contractually, they couldn't do it in later broadcasts, so they re-recorded it with Alan Thicke. But on the VHS and DVD, which is what I know best, they got Ringo Starr to do it, which I think furthered my confusion between this and Yellow Submarine as a young kid. Let me play you track number 3, which is one of my personal favorites, Me and My Arrow. Now, the story goes like this. Oblio was born into a town called The Point, where everything has a point. The trees have points, the houses have points, even the people have points on their heads. But he was born with a round head, no points. So his mom knitted him a hat that came to a point so he could better blend in with the populace. And he had a dog named Arrow, who was his best friend, and they would play this game called Triangle Toss, and it was like a triangle frisbee, and they would try to catch it on their heads. And well, he couldn't actually catch it on the head, so he just let Arrow catch it. Oblio, I guess, pissed someone off, and so they kicked him out of the town because he didn't have a point, and it's illegal to not have a point in the town of Point. And they sent him to the Pointless Forest, where he began this hero's journey, and he met all kinds of crazy characters like the Rock Man.
Say, what's happening with you boys?
The 3 fat dancing sisters. Which kind of confused me because as a kid, I would blend this movie and The Neverending Story together because they're both adventure stories and both have rock men, although they're quite different if you actually look at it from an adult's perspective, but as a kid, I couldn't tell. Anyway, so he goes on his hero's journey, and he eventually learns that everything has a point, whether or not it actually comes to an actual point, and I don't want to ruin it for you, but he goes back to the town, and there's a big realization. Let me play you one more song before I go. Side B, track 6, Are You Sleeping?
Sleeping, can you hear me?
Honestly, guys, if you haven't seen this movie, there's no excuse. It's on YouTube. It's cut up into like 10 parts. Please watch it. And if you have, kudos to you. Get the album. Be sure to get it with the comic book. It's well worth it. If you have kids today, it's great for them, and they can follow the comic book right along with the record. I know they'll enjoy the movie. It's a fun watch. It's nostalgic. It's relevant today, very much so. But you know what makes it better? And I'll be quite honest with you. Yeah, it's great if you can get the album. It's great if you can get the comic book. But if you can get a hat like mine, and you put it on, and you put on the movie in the background, and you put on this record, you look at this comic book, you can't beat that experience. Well, maybe if you throw in a little bit of, I don't do that. And this hat, I don't even know where I got it. It showed up on my doorstep with a bunch of other hats. I personally call it my Atari hat because it reminds me of Breakout, which I played a lot as a kid. But honestly, nothing beats it. So this is Nilsson's The Point. Great album. Definitely check it out. Hope you like it. Until next time, I'm the Vinyl Geek, signing off. Excuse me.
We had a time, oh what a time. There was a time